artists, and welcome to day 32 of the 365-day epic journey. Oh, we're over a month in. This is really, really great. I'm Dalene FM, and this is my epic journey. Today we're going to discuss leading lines. Yes, leading lines, not actual lines in your painting. Thank you.
So you can do what you wanna do. You already know. You can do what you wanna do.
Leading lines suggest that there are literal lines leading through your artwork. Now that is not necessarily the case, and we're going to go through a couple of paintings to discuss how the artist of that particular artwork has used leading lines to lead our eye, guide us through the artwork. Artists very cleverly use lines to show us the way around the painting and lead us in the direction that they want us to go. Now this little one, I keep saying little, and they may or may not be actually little paintings all the time. Now this painting, the artist of whom I don't know, I've got to admit I couldn't find who this painting was done by. It's a fantasy painting, and I just liked it because it gave us a lot of different types of leading lines, both literal and not so literal. Now here of course we've got very literal leading lines that draw our eye to the end of the drawbridge, but there's also, look at this line coming down here, bringing our eye back again. So what happens is, I should be doing this in a different color so you could see it better. So what happens is our eye moves down the drawbridge and almost seems to want to go back up again. And suddenly we hit a gray area here with quite a lot of verticality to it. So we seem to come back down again. The verticality is drawing our eye down, as well as this very, very strong frame up at the top here, against which our eyes seem to bounce and come back down again. We've then also got these lovely lines coming down. So everything about this painting is drawing us into that area there. And if our eye strays to a different area, it comes back again. This little painting by a man named Chong is called Yard Work, has very, very literal leading lines in it. Everything about this painting is drawing our eye in that direction. Very, very literal. Even the perspective of the train and the perspective of the roof all give us that area there. So everything about this painting is drawing our eye to that very, very literal leading lines. Okay, here we have a Degas. Also quite literal leading lines, except that possibly in this fore area here, there's not so much lines, but the space of this floor. Our eyes want to travel along the floor to the dancers. Everything about this floor is drawing our eyes upwards. On this side, yes, we've got some lines of the floorboards that are also drawing our eyes upwards. And then we have some more literal leading lines, of course the skirting and the dancer's beam. And then we've also got the legs of the dancer that are bringing us in. So again, everything about this artwork, both space up here on the wall, space down here on the floor, as well as the literal leading lines, everything about it is drawing our eye here to these two dancers up in the top right hand side. This I included because it was a very, very obvious example of leading lines. I mean, any kind of A-frame composition is going to bring our eye slap bang up to the top of the pier. But then of course the artist has offset the central focal point, so your eyes go up and bounce across, up and bounce across. Our eye then wanders through and back up again. Kathy Fisher's done a very good job on this little painting. I think it's really pretty. She's given us quite a lot to think about here in terms of leading lines. Of course, all the wheat is bringing our eye in that direction. She's got this cloth that the kitten is lying in that is bringing our eye up towards the kitten. Everything about this painting is designed to bring us up to the face. So these lines all bring us in, the lines of the painting. Then we've got the hair as well that is dark and getting light. So we've got color that's bringing us in. And if your eye does wander to the right hand side of the painting, which it invariably does, there's nothing there to hold your attention, because this is clearly our central focal point. So your eye wanders to the right hand side of the painting, and immediately, because of its emptiness, we go back there again. Everything about this painting is designed to bring our eye into the central focal point, both the leading lines, the color, the framing. Right, Willem Hunrich has done a really, really good job here as well, also by using a lot of negative space. We seem to start off on the left side of the painting and we vortex in. This row of flowers gives us the same feeling. We seem to vortex into the central focal point here, which is the bench, of course. And then we've got the movement of the waves in that direction. But also, again, he's used negative space because, again, if we wandered to the right-hand side of the painting, there's nothing on this side to hold our attention. So we go and we hit the ground here, and we travel back along the ground to the central focal point. So all of this vortex type composition is drawing our eye into that bench. Vladimir Vologov has got a couple of different ways of bringing our eye to this lady's central focal point here of her face and chest. The color of her chest, of course, is really, really white, so that automatically draws us in. We've got her eyes that are downcast, showing us what she's looking at. We bounce back off these colors, back up. The line of her arm keeps us going upwards. The creases, these small leading lines, again, keep us going up. If our eye does wander, which it invariably will do, down her arm, we go back up the umbrella and back to the central focal point, which, of course, is the lady's upper body. We've got a very clever little leading line going on there. I don't know what he was painting, but it works really well because it points us back to the direction of the face. Even the pathway in the background, our eyes want to wander back to the background. We kind of hit a border and we come back again. So this artist, he's very clever. Vladimir Vologov is very clever with leading lines. There's nothing about Vladimir Vologov that I don't like. I love his work. Again, we're back to Willem Hanritz, and he's done a very similar thing like he did on his last painting. Of course, there's our central focal point, the table. The chairs are all facing in, so everything about what is surrounding the table in its immediate vicinity is bringing our eye back to the center of the table. But then again, we get this vortex happening, where he's pulling our eye back in here. Again, we've got negative space, left and right-hand side of the painting, so that if our eye does wander, which it will again, it bounces back in again because there's nothing on the left and right-hand side to hold our attention. The same thing happens with the top. The foliage across the top here on this almost pergola area is causing a bit of a framing to happen. Now this is quite a nice one because our central focal point is clearly right here in the foreground. It's very obviously leading lines coming towards us, coming down, and that's quite unusual in the sense that a lot of leading lines will take you back into the depth of a painting, whereas Thabo Nagy here has actually pulled our eye from the back into the foreground of the painting. Again, he's got areas in the bottom corners that stop our eye from coming too far forward because there's nothing there to hold our attention, so we go back to the central focal point, which is where this little waterfall lands. Vladimir Vologov again. We've got a downcast vision. Now, one thing about the human face, we will always follow the direction of the eyes. So in portraiture or in figurative painting, if your eyes are not showing you the central focal point, you're going to have a situation where the viewer's eyes are struggling between what is actually the central focal point and where the eyes of the model are pointing. Because automatically the first thing we're going to look at, even though she's not the brightest part of the painting, the first thing we're going to look at is her face. We are hardwired to look at faces first. We first recognize the fact that this is a human being and her face, we then follow her eyes down. He also gives us this bright area here against which she is framed to pull us away, back down in this direction. Her arm pointing us that. Our eyes could travel up this arm, but again, we're going to come back down here. So everything about these leading lines are bringing us to the brightness on the wall and on her skirt. We travel up there. We've got negative space here that is not holding our attention, so straight away we start looking for movement again. And then, of course, this pillar is also bringing us straight back down. Again, if our eyes do go up the pillar, we get to the top of the painting and come back down again. So again, everything about this painting is giving us, let me do it more simply, the gaze, the arm, the pillar, the bright mark, this arm, there's our central focal point. We travel up the leg, and then these areas that don't hold our attention. So everything is bringing us back to this area here. Okay, we've got another Thabo Nagy here. This is a nice example of a combination of leading lines as well as framework. He's given us a frame here again, a bit like the Willem Heinrich's one earlier on, where he's given us a framework here against which our eyes bounce, so we don't go much further up here. We notice what's going on here. It doesn't hold our attention, but this archway is giving us a nice border. Then we've got all the leading lines of the actual perspective, the people perspective on this side. And then again, he's given us areas here of negative space where we don't have a lot of information that's going to hold our attention. So a lot of what we're viewing, a lot of our eye movement is traveling, almost zooming in from the edges of the painting into the middle of it. Well, artists, I hope that gives you a better idea of how the artists use literal as well as figurative lines in their artwork to help guide our eye around the painting and keep us interested in what we're seeing. Our movement of the viewer in a painting is one of the best ways to keep your viewer interested. If our brains can immediately make sense of what we're looking at, we tend to get a little bit more bored with it a little bit more quickly. So all these lines are designed to keep us interested, to keep our focal point moving around the central focal point, in and out, in and out. It keeps us engaged with the painting for longer. It helps us want to keep looking at it for longer. And there's often times where we might look at a painting and not really understand what it is that we like about it. We just like looking at it. And it's probably got a lot to do with leading lines and how the artist is helping us to navigate around the landscape of the painting. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please like and share as usual, and I will see you tomorrow.
That's what you want to do.